listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good morning, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Saturday, September the 7th. I'm your host, Mike Oliva, flying solo today. Want to pop on, do a real quick show talking about the Jaylen Ramsey extension that he signed yesterday. We'll dive into that. And also this Brazil game that took place on Friday night. Why Miami's probably going to be involved in that next year, and I'll go through all the details with that. But before we start today's show, as always, this show is brought to you by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, your Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, and all of the professional college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a gift, or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Excuse me, not in South Florida. No worries. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home. And yes, they ship internationally as well. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com. And before we start, just want to wish a very happy birthday to Miami Dolphins defensive tackle Zach Sealer. It's his birthday today, so big shout out to him and have a happy birthday. All right, let's talk about this Jaylen Ramsey extension he signed on Friday, kind of out of the blue, because Miami did restructure his contract earlier this offseason to open up like roughly $20 million in salary cap space. So usually when you do a restructure, you know, in like April, May, they don't give you an extension, you know, on the eve of the start of the season in September. So a little bit of surprise there, but in some ways probably not. So Miami and Ramsey reached an agreement, which will make Ramsey the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. Now, he had been that. Then Patrick Surtain II signed a deal earlier this week. It surpassed him. It didn't last long, only a few days. Ramsey's back on top as the highest paid cornerback in the NFL and in NFL history. It will pay Ramsey an average of $24.1 million per year moving forward. It's a 3-year deal worth $72.3 million. Ramsey is guaranteed to earn $55.3 million starting this season. This is big money stuff. And in some ways, it kind of makes sense because it sort of lines up his contract, not exactly, but close enough, to the extensions and the rework deals they gave Tua and Waddle and McDaniel, and even what they did with Tyreek. Everyone's sort of lined up in the same way now. Ramsey's deal, you know, is up after the 2028 season, I believe now, or close to it. I don't have it exactly in front of me. We're still waiting for all the fine print information to come out, but roughly it's going to be that. And what Miami has done here with this deal is essentially go all in with this core of superstars between now and between the end of the 2028 season. That is their window, win or else. They've paid everybody. Nobody should be looking for any more new money here for the next 3 or 4 years. When it comes to those guys, obviously they'll have to make a call on Javon Holland after this season. They'll have to make a call on Jalen Phillips, and if they sign him long-term, I think we all pretty much assume Jalen Phillips will get a long-term deal as long as he comes back healthy and looks like the Jalen Phillips of old. I think they'll pay him. Holland, that's a coin toss. They do not value the safety position. It's not one of the premium positions. I would not be shocked if Javon Holland is playing for another team next season. But that's just a guess. I have no idea. But this is their window. And we know it's sort of a win or else type window. And we all know what the or else is, that after the 2028 season, which is a long ways away, that if they haven't won anything of significance, if they haven't won an AFC East title, or if they've only won one, let's say, if they still haven't won a playoff game, if they haven't made like an AFC championship game, you know, if they haven't at least shown that they're close, they're going to blow it up and everyone's going to be gone and they're going to start over. And they're going to go through another tank season, so to speak, because that's how this league kind of works. And from Grier on down, they'll all be gone. Grier, McDaniel, Tua, those are the key ones at least. Ramsey by that point will probably be retired. He's going to be 30 next month. So there's that, because that's just how this league is. So, as I said, Ramsey turns 30 next month. He's still one of the NFL's best cornerbacks. He's going to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame when he retires. He is that good. He really is that good. He has 22 career interceptions, 6 forced fumbles. He's just an amazing player. He's also the leader of this team now. You know, we heard the report that after one of the training camp practices this summer, you know, when the practice was over, he pulled the team aside and he gave him the rah-rah speech and said, we got to be more physical. We can't be pushed around. We got to be the bullies this year. We have to be tougher. You know, that was kind of that role Christian Wilkins had, as sort of getting the boys fired up, being that vocal leader, sort of rallying the troops. And with Wilkins gone, one of my main concerns was who's going to step into that role. Yes, you have to replace him on the field, on that line, and who's going to give you the production, or at least close to the production that Wilkins gave you. But more importantly, who's going to be the guy in the locker room to rally the troops, get everyone going, be the vocal leader? And it looks like Ramsey has stepped into that role with some of the stuff he did. Now, I know some fans out there are some fans who are not happy with this deal. And I hear you. And you, once again, as I always say, you might be right. Ramsey's going to be 30 next month. He had a major injury last year. He's already hurt now heading into this year, which I'll talk about in a minute. This contract might not age well. How Miami paid Xavier Howard all that money when Howard did his sit-in and then went on Instagram and said, trade me, I don't want to be here anymore. Then Chris Grier folded like a cheap suit and just threw a bunch of money at Xavier Howard to make him happy. And we saw Howard, you know, he had already peaked in his NFL career at that point, and that contract never lived up to the Xavier Howard of old. And that might be the case with Ramsey here, but I'm not upset with it because, again, we're all in. Like, I don't care about draft picks. I don't care about the salary cap. It's been 24 years since we won a playoff game. At some point, you have to try and win. And by win, I mean not just win regular season games where you have fun on a random Sunday in October because we scored 34 points and won by 20. Who cares? I mean win a division title, win playoff games. And to do that, you need guys like Jaylen Ramsey on your team. Even if they are getting up there in age and their best days are behind them, they're still good enough. So that's why I'm okay with this, because when we do hit that wall, and it'll probably be 2027, 2028, it's going to be ugly anyways. So might as well just pay Ramsey and have him be part of that situation, because we got these couple of years here where the Dolphins have to win. They really, really, really do. So next thing I want to talk about with Ramsey, though, is this. I know when everyone saw this news, everyone's got the conspiracy theories. Everyone, you know, thinks so. Everyone just got the first thought that he wasn't really hurt. He's faking this hamstring injury. He was faking it just because he wanted a new contract. And now that he got paid, yes, he's 100% and he's going to play. And there was nothing ever really wrong with him. Timeout. Not so fast, my friends. Yes, Ramsey did practice some on Friday. So there's a chance he's going to play Sunday. But there's also a very good chance he won't, because that hamstring injury, from what I was told, was not faked. It is very, very, very real. And with Miami having that week 2 game on Thursday, a short week, they're not going to just – I mean, the injury wasn't faked. That's the story, okay? He really has a hamstring injury. And if you don't believe it, here's why you need to believe it. If the Dolphins put Ramsey on the first injury report that came out Wednesday saying hamstring, did not practice, and that was a lie, and then on Friday when he gets paid, he's out there running around totally healthy, and it was pretty much proven to be a lie, that's the Miami Dolphins circumventing and tampering with the injury report, and they would lose a draft pick over that. And the Miami Dolphins have lost enough draft picks in recent years due to NFL punishments and other things. The Tom Brady tampering 2, 3, 4 times. However many times I spoke to him. The Sean Payton tampering. They've lost enough draft picks for tampering. They're not going to risk a dopey injury report on a Wednesday over this to possibly lose draft picks. Ramsey does have a hamstring injury. It was questionable if he was going to play this week anyways because of his age, his status, who he is on his team, one of the quote-unquote superstars. There was no reason for him to practice Wednesday or Thursday anyways, so he practiced some Friday, and we'll see if he plays this week. There's still a chance he might not, but anyone thinking this was faked is 100% wrong. It was not faked in any way, shape, or form. He is really injured with that hamstring, so we'll see. We will see. But overall, Dolphins now paid another one. Paid another of their superstar players, lock them up long term, and they're getting the business part of their roster for the most part all wrapped up and tied up with a bow. So next few years, at least with your core, your superstar core, nothing to talk about. Everyone's got their money, and they can move forward. One other injury here real quick. The Miami Dolphins ruled out rookie wide receiver Malik Washington Sunday versus Jacks. Why that's somewhat important, Miami heading into this, on their active roster, they only have 4 wide receivers. Then they picked up Grant Dubose from the Packers, who probably doesn't even know the offense yet. So Washington was going to be the 4th wide receiver. Now with him out, I would expect either Eric Ezekama, if he's healthy, or Robbie Chosen or Dwayne Eskridge to be called up from the practice squad to be active for this game. And I would guess it'd probably be Chosen or Eric Ezekama, one of those two, because they were here previously and actually know the offense well. So I would guess one of those two are going to be called up and made active for this game to play, with Washington ruled out. It's a quad injury for Washington. And since he's not playing this week, I'd be shocked if he plays versus the Bills week 2, because, again, on a Thursday, short week thing. So it might be a few weeks here before we see Washington on the field with that quad injury. So expect it. And if Ramsey doesn't go, I would be stunned if Nick Needham is not called up to the active roster Sunday, because they're going to need more help in the secondary. And Nick Needham, again, position versatility, can play outside corner, inside slot corner, can play a little safety if need be. I'd be shocked if Needham on the practice squad isn't called up there either. All right, before I get to my next topic, I want to give a big shout out to everyone listening at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com, the largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, a shout out to our friends at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Audible, Podbean, Podchaser, or one of the other 100 platforms are on, subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss an episode. We've had more shows this week than I think any week in our history. It's been a flood of Miami Dolphins podcasts we've put up with myself and Robert Burns, myself and Ian Berger. We had the Dolphins Talk Staff Roundtable, Jason Sarney and Zach Krantz from 560 WQAM, myself and Josh Moser from WSVN 7 in South Florida. We had Jason Sarney and Marissa Marino. We got Kevin Dern and Evan. We've had a ton. Tom Ernest did a solo show. If you need to get ready for the week 1 game between Miami and Jacksonville, or just hear our season outlook, season predictions, we got shows up for you at the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. Sunday, right when the game ends, myself and Tom Ernest will be live on YouTube recording the DolphinsTalk.com post-game wrap-up show, and then it'll drop in audio form once we're done recording that. So check out our post-game show after Miami and Jacksonville finishes on Sunday. All right, last topic, which is, I know this is one that gets some fans upset. I mean, I don't know why. It's where the league is going. It's going to happen to every team. But Friday night, there was the Packers versus the Eagles in Brazil. The Brazil game, the first game ever played in the Southern Hemisphere, the first game ever played in Brazil. Jordan Love got hurt, which stinks. Feel bad for him. And earlier this week, Roger Goodell was asked if they're going to go back to Brazil probably next year. And Roger said, yeah, we're going to keep playing more international games moving forward. The goal is to have every team in at least one international game in a season. Now, that might be 5, 6, 7, 8 years away. But I think next year he said he wants to have 7 or 8 international games total. And that he wants to go back to Brazil to play a game. And right now, I will tell you this. It is very, very likely that the Miami Dolphins play in that Brazil game in 2025. I'm kind of surprised they weren't in the game this year. I know why they weren't, and we're going to go through that. But in 2025, I would bet a large sum of money that the Miami Dolphins are playing in that Friday night game, week 1 in Brazil. And the reasons are simple. Number one, for those who might not know this, I know some of you probably do. About 3, 4, 5 years ago, however many years, the NFL assigned each team a couple countries internationally to promote in and have their marketing rights. So essentially, Miami they were given the United Kingdom, London, they were given Spain, and they were given Brazil. So Miami can, run billboards. If they want to run a TV commercial, they can, set up a store and sell all their merchandise in the UK, Spain, and Brazil. But if you are, for an example, the Cleveland Browns, you can't because you were given other countries. So you cannot do those things in Spain, Brazil, or the UK. So Miami has international marketing rights in Brazil. So do the Patriots. Those are the only two teams that can actively market themselves in Brazil. Also, 2022, Peter King, the now retired NFL journalist, legend, who covered the sport for 40 plus years, he reported in a conversation he had with Mr. Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, that Mr. Ross really wants Miami to play a game in either Brazil or Spain because of the international marketing rights. He knows the money over there, if they played a game there, would be through the roof. Mr. Ross ain't stupid. He sees the money train. He's going to hop on the money train. He ain't going to be sitting by while the money train goes by. So you combine the international marketing rights that Miami has in Brazil, along with an owner who wants the game in Brazil. And, you don't need to be Scooby-Doo to put this mystery together, folks. In 2025, you can probably bet a large sum of money that the Miami Dolphins will be playing in that game in Brazil. The only reason they weren't playing this year is because this is a quote-unquote NFC year. Now with the imbalanced schedule, 17 games, in the even years, the NFC teams have 9 home games. In the odd years, the AFC team has the 9 home games. So this is an even number year, which is why you saw 2 NFC teams there, because one of those teams had to lose a home game. Well, since they got 9, if you lose 1, you still got 8 home games. No big deal. If they would have put Miami there this year as the home team, then you go from 8 home games to 7. That ain't right. So that's why they weren't in the game this year, even as a visitor. I mean, they could have put the Packers at home versus Miami. They wanted to this year, put Miami on the road, have the Packers be the home team. But I'm sure the Packers probably didn't want that, because if Miami's got all this marketing rights down there, they would have, promoted the hell out of that country or that area for months in the lead up to the game. And it probably would have felt like a Dolphins home game because the Packers wouldn't have had that opportunity to promote themselves in the area. So I think next year, 2025, AFC year, all the AFC teams have 9 home games. I would not be shocked if Miami plays one of their home games down there. Could it be Patriots versus Miami, since they both have marketing rights? That wouldn't shock me either. And that would be week 1, and that would be on a Friday night. Now, here's where Dolphins fans get upset. And I love this part of the fan base because I think they are just eternal optimists. Well, if the Dolphins win the Super Bowl, they have to open Thursday night, week 1 at Hard Rock Stadium. No, they don't. That is not a rule. That's never been a rule. Yes, the NFL, 9 times out of 10, takes a team that wins the Super Bowl, has them open up in the first game of the year on Thursday night, and that's sort of been a tradition. But there's a difference between traditions and rules. That is not a rule. There's been numerous times in the past 15, 20 years where the team that won the Super Bowl did not play at home on Thursday night the following year. It's been a while, but there are years. I remember the last time the Ravens won a Super Bowl, the following year, there was a conflict with something. They did not open at home that Thursday night. I think the Patriots did, playing someone else. So if Miami's in the Brazil game and they happen to win the Super Bowl this year, God willing, this is something we have to actually talk about and worry about in February. They do not have to play or host the Thursday night game week 1 and be the home team that first game of the year. I'm sure the NFL would have Miami open up in Brazil week 1 and play whoever. And then week 2, you put them on Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football. You'll have their first quote-unquote real home game then at Hard Rock Stadium and do whatever type of celebration you're going to do then. You can move it to week 2. You can move it to week 3. It's not that big a deal. And it's not a rule that if you win the Super Bowl, you must host the Thursday night game the following year. I know a lot of fans think it's that way because it seems to happen every year, but that's not like a written rule. If anyone can play in that game, it's up to the NFL's discretion. And there's been, like I said, numerous times. I didn't go through and find all the times previously, but it's happened 5 or 6 times since this became a thing where the team that won the Super Bowl doesn't host. So, long story short, don't be shocked in 2025 if the Dolphins, quote-unquote, lose a home game. They'd still have 8, and they're hosting a game in Brazil because the owner wants it. Now the NFL is playing in Brazil, and the Dolphins have marketing rights there. So it's like the perfect storm, and it's going to happen. And it's even less about the marketing rights, more that Mr. Stephen Ross wants a game there. And if the owners push it, not many owners want to lose a home game. When you have an owner who is okay with losing a home game and playing a game in an international market, the league ain't going to say no to that. It is not going to say no to that. So it's just something to put in the back of your mind here as we move forward this season. It's nothing to worry about now, but 2025, expect it. That's all for today's show. Everyone have a great Saturday. Have a great weekend. Like, once again, Sunday after Dolphins Jags, Tom Ernest, myself, post-game wrap-up show here at the DolphinsTalk.com YouTube channel, here on the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. It'll drop in audio form as soon as we're done. And if you're on YouTube, we should be on live right after the game. That's the plan as of now. I'm probably going to do a watch-along during this game, meaning if you're a part of the DolphinsTalk.com YouTube channel, which is free, subscribe to it. And once the game goes live, I'll be on live. I can't air the game. I can't show the game, but you'll see this face. And we will talk through it as the game's going on in real time, talk about everything that's happening. Maybe I got a prize or two I can sort of give away, and check that out. So if you know you don't like the announcers, if you just want to watch a game with me, look, put the game on your TV. If you got like a phone or an iPad or a tablet, you can put me on there and we can watch the game together. You know, I don't second guess. I first guessed, and and I will tell you what I think they should be doing in the game and whatnot. And it's always fun to watch a game as a group together. I'll try to give away prizes. Oh, and also Dolphins Talk Extra, folks. Patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. Dolphins Talk Extra for $3 or $5, however much you want to pay. Sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra. Bonus shows, bonus podcast. We still got the Pick'em League and Survivor Pool. There's still time to get in, really. Even for the Pick'em League, you just missed 2 games. You could still come in and win this thing. We're giving away cool prizes like original, very rare Miami Dolphins bobblehead dolls. We got a private message board. It's a little bit more laid back than posting on Twitter, where no one's going to jump down your back if they don't agree with you. Soon we're going to have some interactive podcasts. So check out Dolphins Talk Extra, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Everyone have a great Saturday. We'll talk to you again Sunday. And folks, don't forget, we must put an end to highway profanity.